San Francisco has a way of demanding precision. The fog rolls in on a schedule. The hills challenge every foundation. The sheer cost of existing requires meticulous planning. As an architect, I thrive on that precision. My workspace, a sunlit studio overlooking a slice of the bay, is all clean lines, ordered blueprints, and models built with painstaking accuracy. Structure, order, predictable outcomes. That's my sanctuary. It's the world I deliberately built to contrast with the vague anxieties that sometimes whisper at the edges of my mind, remnants of uncertainties I don't consciously dwell on but instinctively guard against. For 3 years, Liam seemed like the perfect co-architect of that stable life. We met through mutual friends, a whirlwind romance grounded by what felt like shared ambitions and effortless compatibility. He worked in tech finance, a world of venture capital and market projections I didn't fully grasp but admired for its sharp energy. He was charming, spontaneous where I was measured, the charismatic counterbalance into my quiet intensity. Our apartment with its stunning views and carefully chosen modern furniture felt like a testament to our shared success, our harmonious partnership. We were meticulously planning our 3rd anniversary trip, 2 weeks in Hawaii, our trip. I'd spent hours researching boutique hotels on Kauai, mapping out hikes along the Nepali coast, finding hidden beaches away from the tourist throngs. The itinerary, printed and pinned above my desk, was a blueprint for connection, for celebrating the life we were building. Liam had seemed equally enthusiastic, readily agreeing to my detailed plans, contributing ideas for restaurants, promising romantic sunset dinners. Then about 10 days before we were due to leave, he dropped the bomb. Casually over dinner at our favorite neighborhood sushi spot. "Babe," he began, swirling his sake, "something unavoidable just came up at work. Massive deal closing in Tokyo. My boss basically said my presence is non-negotiable." My chopsticks paused halfway to my mouth. "Tokyo? When?" Have to fly out this Friday," he said, finally meeting my eyes, but with a flicker I couldn't quite read. "Probably be there for 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. It totally screws up Hawaii, I know. I'm gutted." He sounded genuinely apologetic, listing off deal points, executive names, the pressure from his superiors. It all sounded plausible. The kind of sudden demand that happened in his high-stakes finance world. Disappointment washed over me, sharp and cold. Our anniversary trip, the one I'd poured so much anticipation into. "Tokyo? For potentially 2 weeks? Liam, our flight to Kauai is next Saturday." I know, he sighed, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "Believe me, I tried everything to get out of it or postpone the deal, but it's impossible. We'll reschedule Hawaii, I promise. First thing when I get back. We'll make it even better." He flashed his most charming, persuasive smile. Outwardly I nodded, forcing acceptance. What else could I do? His career was demanding, I understood that, but inwardly a small dissonant note sounded. Something felt off. The timing was too perfect, the details slightly too vague, and hadn't he been a little too attached to his phone lately, angling the screen away, ending calls abruptly when I walked into the room? I dismissed it as work stress. Now, a sliver of unease, sharp as a shard of glass, lodged itself in my mind, but I pushed it down. Trust was the foundation. I chose to trust him. That trust shattered 2 days later. It was a Tuesday morning. Liam had already left for an early meeting. I was looking for the shared digital folder containing our travel insurance documents, needing to see if the Hawaii flights were refundable, on his sleek tablet, which he often left on the kitchen counter. We shared access for convenience, calendars synced, documents pooled. I found the travel folder, but my eye caught another recently accessed file path, something related to personal travel bookings. Curiosity, fueled by that lingering unease, made me click. And there it was, not a flight to Tokyo, but an email confirmation, timestamped from 3 days prior, from Hawaiian Airlines, for 2 round-trip tickets San Francisco to Kauai, departure this coming Friday, return 2 weeks later, the exact dates of his supposed Tokyo trip, the dates of our anniversary getaway. My breath hitched. Maybe it was an old booking he forgot to cancel. But the confirmation was recent, and then I saw the passenger names, Liam Whitmore and Sophia Bellwether. Sophia, his ex, the one he swore was ancient history, just an occasional friendly text, nothing more. the one whose lingering presence I had always felt as a faint static beneath the surface of our relationship. The screen blurred. The kitchen seemed to tilt. It wasn't just a lie about a business trip. It was a meticulous, calculated plan to take her, his ex-girlfriend, on our anniversary trip, to our planned destination, using our dates, likely funded, at least partially, by our shared resources. The pieces slammed into place with brutal clarity. The secretive phone calls, the slight withdrawal lately, the overly enthusiastic agreement to my detailed Hawaii plans, because he was already planning to use them with her. The casualness of the Tokyo lie. It wasn't work stress, it was subterfuge. A wave of nausea rolled through me, followed by an ice-cold rage that was terrifying in its intensity. This wasn't just infidelity, it was a profound violation of trust, a desecration of the meticulous planning and shared future I held sacred. It struck at the core of my need for order, for honesty, for stable foundations. He hadn't just cheated. He had taken the very blueprint of our life together and used it to build a secret world with someone else. My first instinct was pure, unadulterated fury. To call him, scream, demand answers, to smash the tablet against the pristine quartz countertop. But then the architect took over. The part of me that analyzed structural weaknesses, that planned for contingencies, that understood the importance of a controlled demolition rather than a chaotic collapse. Confronting him now would achieve nothing but yelling, denials, maybe a temporary, insincere apology before he left for Hawaii with her anyway. Number 6. He thought he was executing a flawless plan, confident in my unsuspecting trust. He thought he could have both. The stable life with me, the exciting escape with her. He had underestimated me. He had mistaken my trust for blindness. I closed the tablet, my movements precise and deliberate. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, staring at my reflection. The hurt was there, deep and raw. But overlaying it was a new expression, one I hadn't seen before. Cold, calculating resolve. He wanted to rewrite our future behind my back? Fine. I would rewrite mine first. And when he returned from his tropical paradise with Sophia, he wouldn't find the trusting girlfriend he left behind. He would find nothing at all. The planning began immediately. The 2 days between discovering Liam's betrayal and his departure for Tokyo were the longest, most surreal performance of my life. Every shared meal, every casual conversation, every goodnight kiss felt like navigating a minefield, requiring absolute control over my expressions, my voice, my reactions. He remained blissfully unaware, caught up in the logistics of his fake business trip and, presumably, the anticipation of his real one with Sophia. He was solicitous, apologetic about missing our anniversary, promising to make it up to me. Lies layered upon lies, each one fueling the cold fire of my resolve. I played the part of the supportive, slightly melancholy girlfriend. I helped him pack, noting with internal irony the resort wear mingling with the single business suit meant for his fictional Tokyo meetings. I listened patiently to his fabricated stories about the demanding client, the complex negotiations ahead. I even managed a convincing display of disappointment when he confirmed his flight details, feigning sadness about our missed Hawaii trip while mentally calculating the timeline for my own exit strategy. Seeing him off at SFO was the final act. Standing at the departure gate, I hugged him tightly, whispered "be safe" and "miss you," forcing a believable tremor into my voice. He kissed me deeply, promising to call from Tokyo, oblivious to the fact that I knew his boarding pass read LIH, not NRT. As I watched his plane taxi away, a profound sense of finality washed over me. That wasn't just Liam leaving on a trip. That was the Liam I thought I knew disappearing forever. The moment I was back in my car, the carefully constructed dam broke. Not in tears of grief, but in a surge of pure, cleansing anger. The hurt was there, deep and sharp, but the rage was sharper. How dare he? How dare he treat our life, our plans, me, with such callous disrespect? How dare he stand there and lie so easily? The architect in me, the part that valued integrity and precision above all else, was appalled by the shoddiness of his deception, the sheer arrogance of his belief that I wouldn't see through the flawed blueprint. By the time I get back to our apartment, his apartment, I mentally corrected, as the lease was solely in his name, another detail I now viewed with suspicion. The brief emotional storm had passed, leaving behind the cold, clear focus I needed. There was no room for doubt, no second guessing. He had made his choice. Now I would execute mine. I pulled out my laptop, the sleek machine usually dedicated to drafting building plans and intricate designs. Now it would be used for a different kind of blueprint: demolition and reconstruction. I created a new encrypted document titled simply Exit Strategy _V1. The categories were clear: finances, housing, legal, logistics, communication, cutoff, evidence. First, legal. I spent an hour researching top divorce attorneys in San Francisco, specializing in complex asset division, particularly for unmarried partners with entangled finances. We weren't married. Another detail that simplified certain aspects but complicated others regarding shared property. I scheduled a virtual consultation for the next day with Amelia Davenport, a name that came highly recommended for her sharp, no-nonsense approach. Next, finances. This was critical. While the apartment lease was Liam's, we operated primarily out of a joint checking account where both our paychecks were deposited. We also had a joint savings account, nominally for a future down payment, and shared investment accounts he managed. Using the banking app, I meticulously documented the past year's transactions, highlighting direct deposits for my freelance architectural work versus his finance salary, tracing major expenditures. I opened 2 new bank accounts online at entirely different institutions, under my name only. I initiated an immediate transfer of my most recent paycheck into one. The larger division of the joint accounts would wait until after I consulted with Amelia, ensuring I only took what was legally defensible and clearly attributable to my earnings or shared living expenses I could document. I also immediately changed passwords on all my personal financial accounts and enabled stricter security notifications. Housing. I needed a place to go, fast and discreet. I spent hours scouring short-term rental sites and local classifieds, looking for a furnished studio or one bedroom outside our immediate neighborhood, preferably one offering month-to-month leases payable up front. I found a promising option in the Mission District, arranging a virtual tour for the following day. Logistics involved the physical separation. My belongings weren't extensive, mostly clothes, books, art supplies, architectural models, and, crucially, my professional portfolio and computer equipment. I started making lists room by room, identifying what was unequivocally mine versus shared items I would leave behind. Communication cutoff. Simple. Once I left, my current phone number would be deactivated. I'd use a new burner phone for essential communication during the transition, with the number given only to Amelia, my closest colleague Maria, and perhaps the PI. Liam, his mother, his brother. They would be blocked, their calls and texts rerouted to a digital black hole. Evidence. Did I need more? The Hawaii booking confirmation under his name with Sophia was damning, but confirming the extent of his financial manipulations required more digging. Now that he was physically gone, could I access his computer or files without leaving a digital trace? I decided against it initially. Too risky. The evidence I already had of the Hawaii lie and the financial control issues was likely sufficient leverage, especially combined with his professional vulnerability if his firm found out he'd lied about the Tokyo trip. Finally, the private investigator, Mr. Harrison. I contacted his agency again. The objective wasn't to catch Liam in the act in Hawaii. I already knew he was there with Sophia. The goal was logistical. Confirm their exact return flight details. Liam might lie about extending the Tokyo trip, or change flights last minute. Knowing precisely when he would land back in SFO was crucial for the timing of my final disappearance and the apartment staging. Harrison confirmed his team could monitor passenger manifests and provide updates. By late that night, the initial framework of the exit strategy was complete. The architect in me felt a grim satisfaction in the methodical planning, in imposing order onto the emotional chaos. Liam was sipping cocktails under a Hawaiian sunset, blissfully unaware. He thought he was playing a clever game. He had no idea I was already redesigning the entire board. With Liam safely airborne, supposedly en route to Tokyo, but actually heading for Mai Tyson beach strolls with Sophia, the apartment transformed from a stage for my performance into an operations center for my exit. The lingering scent of his cologne felt like an insult. The first call was to Amelia Davenport, the lawyer whose online profile radiated competence and zero tolerance for nonsense. Our virtual consultation was concise and productive. I laid out the facts. The 3-year relationship, the shared finances, though no marriage certificate or formal domestic partnership, the planned Hawaii trip, the discovered booking confirmation for Liam and Sophia, his Tokyo lie. Amelia listened intently, her expression neutral but her eyes sharp. California treats long-term cohabitation with intertwined finances. Complicatedly, she stated frankly. Without marriage, community property laws don't automatically apply in the same way. However, his use of demonstrably joint funds for this trip with another woman, especially funds intended for your shared anniversary trip, constitutes a breach of trust and likely financial misconduct we can leverage. She advised immediate action to protect my traceable earnings and assets. Calculate funds deposited directly from your architectural work into the joint accounts over the past year or two. Document any significant personal assets you possessed before cohabitation or acquired independently. That's your starting point for clean separation. We'll deal with disentangling shared investments and possessions later, but secure your core liquid assets now. Armed with Amelia's advice, I began the financial severance. It felt strangely empowering, like redrawing property lines on a disputed map. I visited my main bank branch, not the one Liam typically used. Calmly, methodically, I presented documentations of my recent freelance project payments, showing direct deposits into the joint account. I calculated a conservative figure representing my documented earnings minus shared household expenses I could verify paying from that account, plus the balance of my original personal savings pre-cohabitation. Following Amelia's guidance for unmarried partners, I requested a transfer of that specific, calculated amount to my newly opened personal account. The bank manager, after reviewing my documentation and likely noting the lack of a co-signer needed for my funds, processed the transfer without issue. Next, I tackled the joint credit cards, calling customer service to remove myself as an authorized user or where I was the primary account holder, freezing the card entirely after ensuring any automatic payments linked to my essential services were rerouted to my new accounts. Each call felt like snipping another thread connecting me to Liam's deceitful web. Finding a new place was the next logistical challenge. San Francisco's rental market was notoriously brutal. I needed something fast, furnished if possible, and month to month, allowing flexibility. After hours scouring listings and enduring several depressing virtual tours of overpriced shoeboxes, I found it. A small but bright studio apartment in a slightly gritty but vibrant part of the Mission District. The landlord, an older woman more interested in a reliable tenant than extensive background checks, accepted my application, and after a brief video call and proof of funds from my newly established account, I paid the deposit and first month's rent electronically, securing my sanctuary. Keys could be picked up the following day. Then came the physical purge. Moving out secretly required careful planning. I couldn't just hire a big moving truck. That would attract too much attention. I started with the irreplaceable items. My architectural portfolio, hard drives containing years of design work, personal documents, sketchbooks, family photos, the few I had from before Liam. These I packed into sturdy art portfolio cases and duffel bags, moving them discreetly to my car in the building's garage late at night. For clothes, books, and essential kitchen items, I booked a small, independent moving service, 2 guys in a van, for a specific 2-hour window mid-afternoon when I knew the building was generally quiet. I paid cash. They worked quickly, efficiently, asking no questions as they loaded box after box labeled art supplies or books. Handling objects we'd acquired together, the coffee machine we chose after lengthy debates, the reading lamp beside my side of the bed, even the throw blanket we huddled under during foggy evenings, brought unexpected pangs of sadness, not for Liam, but for the future I thought we were building. I ruthlessly quashed the feeling, focusing on the task, reminding myself that future was a fiction he'd already rewritten. Just as the movers finished loading the last box, my burner phone buzzed. An update from Mr. Harrison, the PI. Subjects checked into Kauai Grand Hyatt yesterday afternoon. Poolside photos confirm subject bellwether present. Monitoring return flight manifests. Will advise of changes. Confirmation, cold and clinical. They were there, living out the anniversary trip I had planned. The confirmation didn't hurt anymore, it just solidified my resolve. Later that evening, as I was doing a final sweep, Liam's brother Mark called my regular phone, which I was still keeping active for appearances. "Hey, Chloe!" "Just checking in." Liam mentioned he might be hard to reach with the time difference in meetings in Tokyo. "Everything good over there?" "Hey, Mark." "Yeah, all good here," I replied, injecting false cheerfulness into my voice. "Just holding down the fort. He said Tokyo's keeping him incredibly busy." "Yeah, sounds intense," Mark agreed easily. Too easily? Or was he just clueless? He did say the deal might run over by a couple of days, maybe returning next Tuesday or Wednesday instead of Sunday. Did he mention that to you? "Oh, did he?" I feigned slight surprise. "He hasn't mentioned a specific date change yet, just that it was demanding. Thanks for the heads up. Bingo. Liam was planning to extend the trip, likely wanting more time with Sophia after the fake Tokyo work was done. Mark's casual comment, likely relayed innocently from Liam or Eleanor, gave me crucial extra days for my own plans. No problem, Mark said. Well, hang in there. Talk soon. After the call, I felt a surge of adrenaline. More time. The universe, it seemed, was subtly siding with the architect's need for a well-executed plan. The financial separation was complete. The new apartment was secured. The move was underway. The blueprint for my exit was becoming a reality, brick by careful brick, while Liam remained oblivious in his Hawaiian paradise, unaware the entire structure of his life back home was being systematically dismantled. The extra days Mark had inadvertently revealed Liam was taking in Hawaii were an unexpected gift, a buffer zone the architect and me appreciated. It allowed for less frantic packing, more methodical planning for the final phase, staging the scene of the crime, so to speak, and executing my own clean disappearance. I spent those days settling into the small Mission District studio. It was sparse compared to the polished condo I'd shared with Liam, but every item felt deliberately chosen, solely mine. I set up my drafting table near the large window overlooking a bustling street, arranged my books on salvaged wooden shelves, hung a few favorite architectural prints. It felt real, grounded, a space defined by my own presence, not a shared facade. I finalized changing my mailing address, set up new utilities under my name, and bought a cheap, untraceable burner phone, activating it with a prepaid SIM card. My old life was being systematically archived. The most crucial task was preparing the old apartment for Liam's return. This wasn't about petty revenge like leaving dead flowers. It was about leaving undeniable cold evidence of his betrayal and the consequences of his choice. It needed to be a silent counter-narrative to the lies he was undoubtedly rehearsing on his flight back from paradise with Sophia. I went back one last time on the day before his revised arrival date, confirmed by a terse update from Harrison's PI agency. Subject Whitmore and Bellwether booked on HA-12, arriving SFO tomorrow evening, 7:40 p.m. The condo felt hollow, echoing with the absence of my belongings. I moved with quiet precision. First, the centerpiece. I printed the Hawaiian Airlines booking confirmation, the one showing 2 passengers, Liam Whitmore and Sophia Bellwether, traveling to Kauai on our anniversary dates. In stark black and white. I didn't leave it on his pillow like some cheap melodrama. Instead, I slipped it partially under his passport, and a well-worn Tokyo travel guide left strategically on his nightstand, as if he'd been reviewing his real travel documents alongside his fabricated ones. It was discoverable, but required him to actually look. Next, a more personal touch. On the sleek glass desk in our shared home office space, where we'd occasionally sketched ideas together, lay the preliminary drawings we'd made months ago for a small cabin, a dream project we'd talked about building someday in Big Sur. It represented shared plans, a future built together. I took a heavy black marker and drew a single clean line striking through the entire sketch, then placed the cap deliberately beside it. A canceled blueprint, a canceled future. I considered leaving the expensive watch I'd given him for his last birthday, but decided against it. Material objects felt insignificant compared to the broken trust. The most powerful statement was the emptiness itself. The gaps on the bookshelves, the bare surfaces where my photos and belongings used to be, the distinct lack of me in the space we had shared. I did one final check, ensuring no stray hairs, no forgotten toiletries, no personal trace remained, aside from the deliberate clues. The apartment looked superficially normal, perhaps slightly tidier than usual, but anyone who knew us, especially Liam, would feel the wrongness, the chilling absence, immediately upon closer inspection. Back in my new studio, I performed the final digital severance. I logged out of all shared accounts on my devices, changed passwords one last time on anything potentially linked, and wiped browser histories. I backed up our shared photo albums to a secure personal drive, then deleted them from the cloud service Liam primarily managed, erasing digital memories alongside the physical ones. My old phone, the one Liam knew, received one last text from him, sent from the airport before boarding. "Heading home, babe. Can't wait to see you. Long flight ahead. Love you." The casual ease of the lie still had the power to make my stomach churn, but the emotion felt distant now, clinical. I typed a final ambiguous reply, "Safe travels home, Liam." Then I powered the phone down for the last time, removed the SIM card, and dropped both into a public electronics recycling bin miles away from my new neighborhood. cut off, untraceable. The last step was activating the remote feed for the security cameras in the old condo. Liam had insisted on installing them. Small, discrete cameras covering the entryway, living room, and kitchen, citing peace of mind during his frequent business trips. The irony was palpable. The system designed for my protection would now serve as my observation post. I logged into the secure app on my laptop, the feeds flickering to life, showing the empty waiting apartment. The stage was set. The actress had exited. All that remained was for the unsuspecting lead to walk into the final scene. I made myself dinner, simple pasta, eaten straight from the pot, opened a bottle of a decent Cabernet I could now afford it with my separated finances, and settled onto the floor cushions in my new, sparse living room, laptop open, the security feeds displayed. The wait began. Hours ticked by. The city lights of San Francisco came on outside my window. I didn't feel nervous exactly. More like suspended. An architect watching the controlled demolition sequence begin, knowing the charges were set, waiting for the inevitable collapse. The disappearance was complete. Now came the reckoning. Time seemed to slow down as I sat in my new apartment, the security feeds from the old condo, arranged like silent movie screens on my laptop. The Cabernet was long gone, replaced by strong black coffee. Outside my window, the Mission District hummed with early evening life, but my world was contained within those small, pixelated squares showing the empty waiting stage I had set. Mr. Harrison's update confirmed Liam's flight had landed on time. Allowing for baggage claim and notoriously bad Bay Area traffic, he should be walking through the door any minute. At 8:17 p.m., the feed from the entryway camera flickered to life. The front door opened and Liam stepped inside, rolling his carry-on behind him, a weary but expectant smile on his face. He looked tanned, relaxed, the picture of a man returning from a successful, albeit fictional, business trip, ready to be welcomed home. "Chloe! Babe, I'm back!" he called out, his voice tinny and distant through the laptop speakers. He dropped his bag by the door, glancing around the seemingly normal living room. His smile widened slightly, perhaps anticipating a surprise greeting. I watched, detached, as he moved further into the apartment. He called my name again, louder this time, a note of impatience creeping in. He checked his phone, presumably for text from me explaining my absence. Finding none, a flicker of confusion crossed his face. He walked into the kitchen, likely expecting to find dinner preparations underway or a note on the counter. Nothing. He opened the fridge, seeing the steak, the beer, the ingredients I'd left, and his confident smile returned. Okay, she's just stepped out for a minute. His body language seemed to say, she's still planning our welcome home dinner. He poured himself a glass of water, then wandered towards the bedroom hallway. This was the moment. I leaned closer to the screen, watching the feed from the nightstand camera. He entered the bedroom, tossed his keys onto the dresser, then stopped. His eyes scanned the room, the perfectly made bed, his robe laid out. He seemed reassured for a second, then his gaze snagged on the nightstand beside where I used to sleep. He picked up his passport, the Tokyo travel guide tucked beneath it, and then he saw it. The corner of the printed Hawaiian Airlines itinerary peeking out. He froze. Slowly, deliberately, he pulled out the paper. I watched his eyes scan the passenger names. Liam Whitmore, Sophia Bellwether. The destination, Kauai LIH. The dates, perfectly matching his Tokyo trip. His face went slack with disbelief, then flushed dark red. He crumpled the paper in his fist, then smoothed it out again, rereading it as if it couldn't possibly be real. He looked around the room wildly, as if expecting me to jump out and explain. He yanked open the closet, seeing the significant gaps where my clothes, shoes, and bags used to hang. He strode into the ensuite bathroom. Bare countertops, empty shower rack. The confusion morphed into dawning, horrified comprehension. He rushed back out to the main living area, his movements frantic now. He noticed the empty spaces on the bookshelves, the missing artwork I favored. He went to the home office area, saw the striking black line drawn through our shared cabin sketch. His hand hovered over it, then clenched into a fist. Then came the phone calls. I watched him dial my number repeatedly, pacing back and forth like a caged animal, the phone pressed hard against his ear. Each call clearly went straight to the deactivated voicemail. His frustration mounted, turning into visible panic. He started searching drawers, cabinets, flinging them open, looking for... what? A note? Some explanation beyond the stark, silent evidence of my departure? He kicked an ottoman, a sharp, violent movement that made me flinch involuntarily, even watching remotely. The charming facade was cracking under pressure, revealing something uglier beneath. Then he did exactly what I predicted. He called his mother. The conversation was inaudible, of course, but his body language told the story. Agitated gestures, head shaking, running his hands through his hair repeatedly. He looked desperate, lost. About 20 minutes later, the entryway camera showed Eleanor arriving using her own key. She looked concerned, listening intently as Liam gestured wildly, pointing towards the bedroom, the office, likely recounting his discoveries. Eleanor's initial look of concern shifted to shock, then disbelief, then perhaps dawning anger, directed at Liam or me or both. It was impossible to tell. They argued, their silent figures moving rapidly on the screen. Finally, Liam seemed to deflate, collapsing onto the expensive sofa, the one we picked out together, burying his face in his hands. Eleanor stood over him for a moment, arms crossed, then sat down stiffly at the other end. I watched them for another minute, two figures adrift in the wreckage of the life Liam thought he controlled. The architect in me noted the complete structural failure. The woman in me felt surprisingly little. Not triumph, not sadness, just a profound sense of detachment. The demolition was complete. The site was cleared. My involvement here was over. I closed the laptop lid, shutting off the feed, severing the last electronic tether to my old life. The silence in my new apartment felt clean, absolute. I had seen enough. Liam knew. He knew I knew. And he knew I was gone. Whatever happened next between him, his mother, and the consequences of his actions was no longer my concern. My blueprint was leading elsewhere now. The days immediately following my disappearance were silent, and at least on my end. My old phone remained off. The burner phone stayed quiet, used only for essential communication with Amelia Davenport and my new landlord. Liam's number, Eleanor's, Mark's, all blocked. I envisioned the frantic calls, the confusion, the dawning realization, but I felt no urge to witness it further or engage with it. My focus was solely on constructing my new reality. The professional transition happened with surprising speed, thanks to the groundwork I'd laid and the leverage provided by Liam's blatant deception, news of which, including the fake Tokyo trip confirmed by travel records requested by HR, apparently spread like wildfire within his firm once the client exodus began. My former company, facing the loss of key accounts and potential legal action based on the evidence I provided Ms. Roth, quickly agreed to my terms: a clean separation, no contest regarding client choice, and official acknowledgement of my contributions to shared projects.